After months of conjecture as to when it would launch and what it would look like, Worldcoin is finally here. Of course, that is the coin where they scan your eyeballs to prove that you're human and then drop you some free shit coins that, as of now, I can't find the actual use case for. Very vague on the website as to what they're for, but proves that you're human, trying to get these into the hands of everyone in the world. This is from Sam Altman, the man behind OpenAI and ChatGPT, also a man who's in a major battle at the moment with Elon Musk, seemingly over the future of finance and privacy in the world. There's a lot to unpack here, but it did launch yesterday with a fully diluted valuation of $21 billion. We're going to talk Worldcoin today, how it affects our future and privacy with Seth For Privacy, who I recently had on the podcast. You guys definitely have to listen to this episode. And then at the back end, Big Cheds and I are going to talk about the actual market, look at charts and trades. Let's go.
Let's go.
What is up, everybody? I'm Scott Melker, also known as the Wolf of All Streets. Before we get started, please subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Just a bit of housekeeping here. Just wanted to tell you guys, since it is officially happening tomorrow, this tweet from Robert F. Kennedy. Of course, Spaces is glitching as usual on desktop, so it just says details not available. But if you could see that or looked at it on your mobile, it would tell you that I'm hosting a Twitter Spaces tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Robert F. Kennedy, Marty Bent, Natalie Brunell, Mark Moss, and Robert Breedlove. The five of us effectively each taking 15 minutes to talk to him about Bitcoin, privacy, freedom. We will not be, hopefully, delving into the other areas of contentious campaigning that have been going on surrounding Robert F. Kennedy. The idea here is to dig in specifically on his policy for Bitcoin, his thoughts on monetary policy, his thoughts on the Fed, etc. So we're going to focus on money and Bitcoin, see what his plans are there. That's the idea. 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. Put that on your calendar because, I mean, it's pretty huge. And actually, next Monday, hosting another presidential hopeful, Francis Suarez, the mayor of Miami. We're going to have him on Twitter Spaces at 10:15 a.m. next Monday. So trying to run through all of them. I have a feeling I will not get to Biden and Trump, and that's fine because I don't really want to talk to any of those old bastards anyways. Let's be honest. Anyways, though, what you guys are here to talk about today, we're going to here to talk about Worldcoin. I'm going to just go ahead and bring on Seth right now because why do this by myself? How are you doing, man?
Doing pretty good, Scott. Thank you so much for having me back. Looking forward to talking about this.
Of course. So listen, as an advocate for privacy, Worldcoin has to be massively on your radar here, right? And to give people the context, right? Literally, there's this orb, which I'm sure I have a picture of it here in one of these articles. I'll find the orb, but it's an orb and it scans your eyeballs. The goal here is to scan the eyeball of every human being in the world and airdrop them some Worldcoin. So what's going on here?
Yeah. I mean, I think that the ultimate goals that they've stated are to use this as a way to have kind of proof of personhood is the name that they put around it. You can think of it kind of like proof of work, but with the goal being that each person is uniquely verified. And that's not necessarily a terrible goal. It certainly can have some implications for anonymity and pseudonymity, depending on how you actually approach it. But the goal itself has some benefits, especially if you do things in a privacy-preserving way, which, to get the good out of the way, when you actually verify your World ID, once you've gone through the eye scanning and you've gotten your Worldcoin, when you do actually verify that to log into a service or something, they do it in a way that doesn't reveal anything about who you are and just reveals that you have successfully verified using a technique called zero-knowledge proof. So there are some unique things about it that can be interesting, but I think a lot of the approach that's been taken is probably naive. I hate to term people malicious.
That's good.
Without knowing more about them.
Naive is the benefit of the doubt for sure.
Yeah, that may be giving too much of a benefit of a doubt. But the concept of having people all across the globe scan in their iris and essentially what the orb supposedly does. It is partially, the actual schematics for how it works are partially open source, but no one can verify how it works. No one can verify the software or the hardware. in theory, it scans your iris, creates a unique hash that can only apply to your actual eyeball, and then sends that off to Worldcoin server. And then when you do that, they authenticate your Worldcoin wallet and say, yeah, this person's real. We're gonna drop them some Worldcoin. So obviously the incentive initially is to get that Worldcoin, and you sacrifice your eyeball scan as a part of that.
Right. And so it effectively proves that you're human and not AI, because an AI wouldn't be able to do it. And obviously, I think everybody can understand the implications of being able to prove that you're human and not AI moving forward as agents and bots sort of start to replace or become a regular part of our lives and performing functions that humans are generally doing. So you want, like, for example, if an AI is going to send a transaction in your name or something, you might want to have proof that you're behind it as a human. And it also makes sure that there's no double spend, right? You can't claim it twice because you're Iris, but none of that answers why everybody in the world needs Worldcoin.
Yeah, and I don't think there is an answer for that. I think the only reason that has been kind of stated behind it is that the Worldcoin token itself is to incentivize people to do this process. And then if enough people do it, it allows them to have this proof of personhood to use for other things. What those other things are still isn't clear, but that's the idea. They also claim that it's kind of like a UBI system where everyone will get a fair issuance and everyone will get a certain amount of Worldcoin. But the problem behind that is that all this time, they initially held 20% back for insiders of the total supply, and now they've increased it to 25%. Yeah,
I was gonna say it's a lot more than that. And I mean, I like brought up all this stuff. We're not going to dig into it specifically, but like as you dig into exactly what you said, basically everything that's been released went to market makers, a very small percentage to the public. Of course, that will increase, and it's like. Well, I mean, here, first of all, it's at a fully diluted valuation of $21 billion. All the VCs invested at $1 billion. So they're up 21x on the launch without anything happening. But that's, par for the course. But the market cap right now is only 228 million. So you're talking about like less than 10%, less than 10% of the coins, 1% of the coins being out. That means 99% will eventually come to market. I don't know much about supply and demand, but that seems like a lot of supply that will require a ton of demand for it to not go only down.
And that issuance is centrally controlled. It's not like Bitcoin where we have a steady proof of work algorithm that makes sure that this issuance that was set from day one continues. I mean, even just the change from 20% being held for insiders to 25% secretly, no one knew that until just recently, goes to show that there's not, just like pretty much anything that claims to be for pure financial good but is run by a central party, there's actually people who stand to benefit greatly from this, who've kind of held some of it for themselves and then pushed some of these orbs out there and are giving some Worldcoin to people.
So we know that VCs make a ton of money on these things, whether they're successful or not. I mean, they're literally these VCs, whoever is getting coins on whenever the first tranche launches, if it was now, they'd be up 21x, right? So they're going to sell their first tranche if it's 5 or 10%. This has been sort of the structure of VC profiting in crypto. Ari Paul has a great thread on it for anyone who wants to see it. It's right here. Ari David Paul, basic crypto market manipulation model. How they get these huge valuations without doing anything. You guys can read into that, but that's less of the issue for me. When they scan your iris, it's going to this centralized service, right? So Worldcoin, you have to trust that they're going to be benevolent and only use it for good, or is there some way here that they don't actually have access to your information? Have you dug into that at all? Because it was very vague when I tried to look.
Yeah, definitely. That's been a big point of interest for me is how this actually works. Like I said at the beginning, the theory is that it scans your eyeball into the orb itself, and on the orb, it computes a unique hash that can't be reversed. So you can't take the hash and figure out the person's iris from it, but it's a way that if anyone scans their eye again, you can verify that it is the same person. In theory, that happens on the orb, and then the orb only sends that unique hash off to Worldcoin server. But that's really just theory because we can't verify the way that any of this works.
Because it's not fully open source.
You're saying, no, right? It's not fully open source. And the actual manufacturer of the orbs is just one centralized manufacturer right now. They say they have a lot of grand plans to decentralize a lot of this and a lot of promises for that in the future. But when you think about this closed hardware that we have some idea of how it works, they publish some schematics. When you think of this being responsible for collecting, storing, and transmitting the biometric data of every citizen in the world, you have to think about what the interest here is from parties who could actually put backdoors into this hardware. Whether that's Worldcoin themselves, even though they have some incentive not to backdoor their own hardware because they want to make money off of Worldcoin and whatever other aims they have. Or if that's nation states who say, I would love to have an iris scan of every person in every country that I don't have jurisdiction over, they can backdoor this hardware at the manufacturer and then have it easily transmit the iris scans off to them, and then they have a biometric catalog of every single person. And this is something that I'm sure the US would love. The NSA is famous for backdooring hardware against manufacturers' consent and putting in things that collected and transmitted data that it wasn't supposed to. I mean, China would love to do this. Russia would love to do this. Who wouldn't love to have the biometric data of every citizen in the world from a dictatorial or authoritarian perspective? So there's a lot of risks even just from that perspective, and that doesn't get into any of kind of the issues with tying unique, unchangeable biometric data to your finances, where you can't just get a new Bitcoin wallet, you can't just get a new Worldcoin wallet. Your unique iris scan is tied to your public key in Worldcoin. And so the activity that you do in Worldcoin, the company behind it knows everything that you do financially and ties that directly to that unique iris.
And if your government knows and for some reason wants to punish you with a social credit system or something, you can't open anything because you need your biometrics and they know it's you and you're being punished and therefore you can't do it, right? I mean, this slides down the slippery slope of the same fears that a lot of people have about a central bank digital currency or something similar, where all of a sudden you have zero privacy in your transactions, but also have zero control over your actual wallet, meaning that the government can, drop things in, you said the UBI side of it, or take things out or remove your access altogether. Right. Yeah. I mean, it just feels, and maybe this is the way the world is going. Like, I don't know, but it feels very Minority Report to me.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's interesting that these people claim altruistic motives behind this. But I use the word naive to open it because you'd think even if you had these altruistic motives, you'd be concerned with this concept of the biometric data of every single person in the world being collected and stored by a central entity, even if there are claims that doesn't happen and it's just this unique hash. So you'd hope that it would be a non-starter when you think it through and go, no, this is going to open up more risk than it does reward for this chance for theoretical financial kind of evenness throughout the world, those kinds of things. So it's pretty crazy to see, and there are definitely serious privacy concerns with this. And just like almost everything else out there outside of Bitcoin, it relies on trust in a central party, trust for privacy, trust for all of these things. And it's not a system that removes that trust or pulls that away. It's something that you're just putting more trust in someone, and now you're including not only your financial data, but your biometric data as well into a trusted centralized party who can easily be incentivized or coerced into collecting more data, storing that data, or selling that data.
Two interesting points. I had written about this in May, and I just happened to bring it up right before, but this is from Worldcoin site. What can I do with Worldcoin tokens? Why would I want them? The Worldcoin token, WLD, is best understood as providing utility and giving users a say over the direction of the Worldcoin protocol. Ownership of WLD paired with a verified World ID provides access, ownership, and participation in the protocol. Following the mainnet launch, the community of users will determine the token's uses, but a few use cases are expected to emerge. First, governance. WLD will give its holders the ability to shape the future of the protocol. Second, users may use the WLD token to pay for certain actions in the World app. Last, some users may also use WLD World tokens as a store of value or to make payments, remittances, tip artists. Okay, so as I said here, the plan is to distribute tokens that govern more tokens and potentially enable purchases, but maybe just within the ecosystem. Like, what? They don't even know. I get that this is okay, we're going to make it decentralized and you'll decide. But why do I want a token with undetermined utility and that maybe will never have utility and could effectively never be even used as payments? I mean, you get the token so that you can have governance of the token to determine what the token might be used for. Wouldn't people just rather do El Salvador this, right? Give me $30 in Bitcoin for scanning my iris if I have to do it.
Still terrifying, still problematic, but at least without
you'd be getting Bitcoin.
Yeah, at least not the 2017 ICO vibes. And I mean, that's like when you look into these things, it should become apparent that the only reason for the token is to enrich the founders and to provide the funding for this project. Like there's no need for a new token here, but the easy way to mint new money for yourself is to create a new token, hold a large percentage of it, and then hype it up as being something that's important, even though, like you just showed, they're literally asking you to determine what's the use of this coin that we're giving you. You figure it out. And then you're trusting that they'll implement whatever kind of governance proposals you put in place, because there's no decentralized mechanism for that. You're just trusting that they'll follow whatever votes happen down the line. If you go against their financial incentives, are they actually going to follow that?
Also, I mean, it says Worldcoin presents itself as, quote, accessible to everyone, irrespective of their country, background, or economic status. Then you dig into their terms of service. WLTD tokens are not intended to be available for use, purchase, or access by U.S. persons, including U.S. citizens. So there's a few 100 million people right there that can't use it. You also can't use them in Syria, the Crimea, Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, Zaporizhia regions of Ukraine, North Korea, Iran, Cuba, or any other country or region with whom the United States, European Union, or any other country or jurisdiction has restricted trade in goods or services. So outright right there, at least a third of the world is out even for their mission, right?
I guess, can you give over your eyeball for nothing then if you're in one of those?
Yeah, I guess so. That's right. They're going to want the eyeball scan, but not the, but you don't even get the shit
We'll
coins
keep the
in
tokens,
exchange.
but you give us your eyeball.
Well, hold on. We'll just pass those off to the VCs. I mean, when you start looking at the people that are sharing about this, and whatever, no judgment. Kyle from 3AC, obviously. If my thesis holds correct, the 3AC venture portfolio will be the best performer of 2023. They were a massive investor in Worldcoin. Guess who else? Sam Bankman-Fried. Worldcoin has launched with an FDV of 28 billion, and Mr. Altruism SBF invested in Worldcoin at a 1 billion valuation in 2021. And then you go in and you see and listen, these guys do their job, right? But here's all the people, big names that invested at $1 billion, and now they're calling it. CoinGecko says 21. That guy said 28 billion, but either way, 21x, 28x. Coinbase, Multicoin, Andreessen Horowitz, DCG, Coin Funds. I mean, it's the same. The usual suspects. Listen, I don't begrudge the fact that they would want access to this. Invest in Sam Altman, who's had massive success with ChatGPT. I get it from the VC perspective. It's just kind of funny to see. I mean, literally like SBF.
Yeah, and I think like there are good use cases for VC funding, but pouring money into a project like this that is privacy invasive and has a new currency for no reason is painful and is problematic. And I hope that people will push back on that with those VC funds. And if they work with those VC funds, talk to them about this, because it's pretty crazy that people could get behind this and see it without worrying about the long-term implications of this. And the token is really not even the long-term implication. Like, I know that is something that is easy to focus on, and we've talked about that a bit, but that concept of an ID that is centrally controlled by one party across the globe that's tied to an eye that you cannot change is one that has massive implications, like you mentioned, for control and surveillance beyond just the token itself.
Okay, so let's putting Worldcoin aside, the idea of digital ID has quite a few proponents, and as you even mentioned, if done correctly, could be a massive, I think, improvement for humanity, right? I mean, we talked about ZK, obviously. First time I heard about that, I think, was when I interviewed Evan Shapiro from Mina, and he was talking about ZK snarks. But effectively, the idea that you can provide proof of your identity or proof of your finances or proof of quite a few things without giving over anything but that specific information. So basically, you can get a yes/no answer. Let's say I'm applying for a credit card without giving them all of my data, my address, all of that. That could basically be bundled into a ZK proof. Zero knowledge proof, and then it can just send the answer to the credit company saying yes or no, I qualify, without having to give that's very compelling if it was done in a decentralized manner. I know that companies like my friend Justin Rezvani at Zion is doing this with Bitcoin. I know the guys at Unstoppable Domains are working very, very hard on digital identity. So let's imagine that in a world where you can safely have a digital identity, I can sign into every social media platform, I can sign into my bank, I can make transactions. Are we going in the right direction if this is done correctly?
Yeah, I think that's the hard thing, because there is a lot of promise from the concept of digital identities, DIDs, and just this ability to have your identity in an actual digital format that you can prove freely without revealing that info. And that, in theory, that is actually something that Worldcoin offers. And their approach isn't the worst possible. Like there's a really good article that Vitalik wrote yesterday that walked through a lot of this, because he's very optimistic on the idea of decentralized identities, and he wrote a very good, very well thought out article that addresses a lot of the security and privacy concerns of this. The hard part with digital identities is how do you actually issue and verify the person for the first time? And that's really the struggle for all of these systems. I mean, Worldcoin obviously does that by scanning your eye, taking the hash of your iris, and then sending that off to a central server and using that for that verification. And then, like I mentioned at the beginning, they actually do the verification. Like if I wanted to log into YouTube with my Worldcoin ID, they actually do the verification in a unique way that does use zero knowledge proofs to prove that I am a valid person without revealing any information about me, without revealing which iris scan I was or which public key I am within the Worldcoin ecosystem. So that approach is actually pretty interesting, but that problem always comes with that initial issuance and verification. And doing that in a decentralized way is really difficult. For as much hate as Vitalik gets for those who want to learn more about this, his article was actually really eye-opening and looks at a lot
Really
of the
good.
other approaches that have been taken within the ecosystem to try and do decentralized identity. And it was very informative for me, because it's not a topic I've dug into too deeply in the past. But my concern is always that when we do digital identity, there will be some key restrictions that cause problems for the ability for you to be anonymous or pseudonymous moving forward. The nice thing right now with identity being pretty physical is that, yes, I have to turn over a lot of information when I want to use it. Even when I go to a bar, if I want to get in and they check my ID, they can view all this information about me. They can view my full name, see a picture of me, see my home address, all of this stuff, which is absolutely unnecessary. All they need to do is verify my age. So something like a decentralized identity using zero knowledge proofs would allow you to prove, hey, I'm over 21 without revealing all that info. But it's difficult in the initial issuance and verification piece. Vitalik talked about some approaches where a group of people come together and prove their identity to each other. One where they use social graph to do that. There's a lot of different approaches that are interesting, but all have pretty major flaws. And he actually posits that Worldcoin has some unique advantages over some of the other approaches taken to just the concept, like ignoring the token, just that concept of how do we prove that someone's real, and let them verify that moving forward. So it's something that I would love to see us continue exploring, especially centered around using something like Bitcoin for the layer that stores the proof that I am unique, because that is a system that we know the Bitcoin blockchain is going to be around for a very long time or forever. It's something where we don't need to trust a central party to store that data, and we can have it distributed. But again, it has to be done in a unique, privacy-preserving way. And honestly, I don't have the answers for how you do that, because that's really kind of the probably $1 trillion question with how you can do that. But their approach isn't terrible from that perspective. The main problem with their approach is that even though in theory the approach is good, we can't know that that's actually happening. And we have no way to ensure that no other party, either them or a government or a nation state, are collecting this data and storing it for other use cases. And I think that's the real problem. If you ignore the identity and you just look at Worldcoin from the concept of the World ID, if there was a fully open source software and hardware solution, if there was the ability for you to verify it, maybe even if there was the ability for you to build your own and build it from scratch, build it from the components that they give you, and let you do it in a way where you can be sure that there was no backdoor put in there, that would be really interesting. I mean, kind of like the concept of hardware wallets, where you can buy from a provider. Maybe they're free and open source software and hardware. Or you can build your own, do something where you get to verify every step of it as well, and kind of give that approach. But that also gets tricky, because then what happens in like sub-Saharan Africa? They're not gonna be able to build their own orb like this from scratch.
Yeah, it sounds like with by the way, guys, this is the Vitalik post over here. It's vitalik.eth.limo. You can find it there. Very, very long and well thought out, as Seth said, and he really gave us a lot of thought. But of course, the conclusion, like everything in crypto and with privacy, comes down to a push and shove of what it's worth and if it's worth trying it. And sort of, it very much actually reminds me of when OpenAI launched and guys like Elon Musk came out and said, whoa, like slow down. You know, we're now at the point, it feels like, in the evolution of technology where every single technology has this massive question mark as to whether it's worth it or not.
Yeah, and it comes down to this basic concept of technology itself is morally neutral. Like the concept of decentralized IDs, I don't think is necessarily an evil or a good concept, but it comes down to the implementation and how it's actually used by the people who create and implement this type of thing. And that's where a lot of times the best solution for these types of things, if there's these massive question marks around how in the world do we do decentralized identity the right way, maybe we continue to lean away from it. We lean towards not requiring identity for as much as possible. We lean away from relying on governments, lean away from relying on central banks and all of these entities who need ID to be able to verify those things. And we lean into systems like Bitcoin. We lean into systems like the circular economies that are developing around Bitcoin, where identity is not a key part of that and doesn't need to be. We can build reputation systems that don't rely on that. And that's more of the kind of cypherpunk future that I hope that we end up in, where we are able to live well, to have communities, to buy and sell what we need without having to rely on some centrally issued identity, because it always will bring flaws, and someone will always try and control that or leverage it for their own gain. And that's just an unfortunate truth of humanity. And that's where systems like this, I would prefer if we can lean away from them and find out ways that we can do maybe decentralized reputation rather than decentralized identity, so that we can still have anonymity and pseudonymity, let people choose the level of comfort with how much they want to reveal, and then have other ways to verify if someone's a good or bad actor.
Okay, one final question before I let you go. How different is scanning my eyeball with the orb from using my face to open my iPhone, or staring right now into this camera and letting YouTube scan my iris all day?
Thankfully, I think your webcam probably isn't good enough for you to get an iris scan off of you, so you're probably safe there. Just don't get too close.
My iPhone is. The iPhone is.
Yeah, iPhone's interesting because it has a lot of the same potential problems as Worldcoin. In theory, on your iPhone, when you use your face for Face ID, all of that stays local, stays within a secure enclave on the device, and is never transmitted anywhere. That is one big difference, and that Worldcoin does explicitly say we transmit the hash of your iris to our server and we store that. Whereas Apple is very explicit and clear that the goal of Face ID and of all biometric unlock, and this is true of Android as well, is that it's done on the device, stored on the device, verified on the device, and it never leaves. It never even goes outside of that secure enclave, which is a uniquely built hardware piece within your phone that verifies that. But unfortunately, on the iOS side, it's closed source, so we can't verify it. I mean, there's massive incentive for Apple to actually be doing the things that they say that they're doing, especially as a lot of their brand now is built on privacy, and they've made a big push in that being a marketing angle. But you still have the potential concerns of backdoors, of the NSA, et cetera, backdooring and finding a way to exfiltrate that data. So it certainly is a possibility. I will say, as a privacy advocate and someone who's a big fan of going a little bit more hardcore, I personally don't see problems with like Face ID and those types of solutions. But I know again,
that's the stamp of approval I needed. I will continue to scan my face into
I do fingerprint unlock on all my devices. So there you go.
Perfect. All right, we're good to go. All right, man. Seth, thank you so much, man. I really love your perspective. Always really measured and insightful. And thank you. And hopefully have you back anytime we have a similar conversation. I want to have you back a lot, but on the flip side, I don't want to, because it means that somebody's doing something really stupid that we have to talk about.
Hey, we can have positive conversations around privacy too. It's possible.
We'll talk about. We did it last time. All right, guys, check out that conversation. Of course, you're at Seth For Privacy on Twitter, right? So follow Seth For Privacy on Twitter. Really great. Thank you, Seth.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Scott. It's great chatting again.
Have a good one. Kind of look like long lost brothers, someone said, I think, in the comments on our last on the last podcast. I can't remember who said it, but I was like, yeah, I can see that. Seth, Scott, whatever. Anyways, guys. So I would love to see your thoughts in the comments on Worldcoin. Like, there are some people who are massively supporting this, who are not the VCs that are profiting from it, who truly believe in the model. I mean, I think it's just with everything in this world right now, I'm just gonna stay skeptical and reserve judgment and see what they do. I'm in the United States, so they're not coming after my eyeballs anyways. Listen, I'm going to go on. We're going to bring on Big Cheds. We're going to bring on Big Cheds. He's going no camera today, but we're going to look at your black screen. What's up, man? You there?
Yeah, I'm hanging, man. Can you hear me?
Did
all
you
right?
turn off your camera because you heard us talking about scanning your eyeballs?
Yeah, no, actually, I have. I got injured. I was scanning my eyeball on the orb, and it just cut my eyes. So I'm kind of healing. So I had like an eyeball injury from getting my
Yeah,
eyeball
terrible.
scanned.
He was double orbing actually, which
Hey.
they tell you not to do.
Scott, what was that like? Vitalik wrote like a paper, and I thought it was like something .lmao. Was that the URL?
It's LIMO, but LMAO would be better. Like limo, like the one you drive that
Okay.
you drive in, not
Yeah.
laugh my ass off at privacy. But yeah, it's
Yeah, that's what I heard. Sorry, I heard LMAO. So sorry about that.
all right. So listen,
Yeah.
Bitcoin's finally a little less boring, a little,
Yeah.
because it broke down. Let's bring up your screen and let's talk about it. What do you got?
Is it? Yeah, it's kind of boring, but it's a little bit less.
I think it's a
boring,
little
guess.
less boring. It broke down. I mean, it broke down this local range.
Yes, we can kind of do this. Let's do this, and let's look at like this like series of like 30 candles. And that's the thing, is you can zoom in really, really close if you're bored and come up with something interesting and say, that's a massive move. We have this kind of local range, and we broke the range lows, and it, that changes everything, right? But doesn't really change too much when you kind of zoom out. And you see it's still price above kind of the high time frame, reversal breakout level. We still have the price more or less. Let's go to the weekly. It's a little bit more clear.
Weekly bands right now are the tightest they've ever been in history.
We still have price
By the way,
the overhead. Weekly bands are the tightest in history.
That's according to yes, I've seen it like 3 or 4 times, and I tried to look. I didn't calculate the percentages, but it's pretty. They're pinching as much as they ever have.
Yeah.
Or more.
Yeah, we're right
no
back
volatility.
to like 2016.
Yeah.
Bollinger Band width. Yeah, that's interesting, huh? And you know what though? And we've traded a lot of markets for a long time. Like this isn't that tight.
Wait, what was that Bollinger Band width? What was that? That was
Go
an
to,
indicator? I don't know that.
Yeah, go to indicator, go to technicals, the trading view, and you go to Bollinger Band width.
Holy shit.
I know.
awesome.
Today years
I'm
old.
adding that right now.
Today years old, right?
Yeah, let's see if it is hitting the all-time low from 2016. It's right there.
But it's funny though, but like this isn't a real pinch though. I mean, it's just starting to tighten. The point I was making is that's true, but it can from experience and trading a lot of markets and using Bollinger Bands, it can get a lot tighter. I mean, it can just do that.
Yeah, but look at that. There's the 2016 line.
Yeah.
It is peaking below without the weekly close.
So what does that mean? Let's deconstruct that for people who aren't like nerdy, like trend analysts like you and I. And you're having a secular uptrend like Bitcoin that's just been rising. What that means is it hasn't really paused and just gone sideways for a long period of time. It just means that Bitcoin's been strongly accelerating over time. So the fact that this is the tightest it's ever been just is reflective of the fact that it's never really paused for a long period of time, right? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's basically saying they've never actually been tight. That Bitcoin, because it's so volatile, has never been tight and sideways at any point.
Yeah, like this isn't
So
even a
relative.
pinch. This isn't like a pinch. I mean, we've seen
on the daily
chart,
or the 4 hour. Yeah, you see these long
like
periods of look at that.
Like that was ridiculous. So that's
it's the old Dick and Balls pattern. Let's be honest.
That's it.
I mean,
shake and bake.
We haven't had the dick on the weekly yet, just balls.
Well, you gotta have one of the two. You gotta have something. You got nothing. But look, I mean, it's still a weekly uptrend. It's still bullish. What I've been saying, and probably a lot of people, is that it's buy the dip mode. It's a question of where do you buy the dip? Are we going to get the 28.5 throwback? We're going to get maybe a tag of the daily, MA 200. We'll kind of wait and see. It was meant to pause here, right? Overhead supply.
31.
Yeah, and it's healthy. It's okay. It was a beautiful move, and we've been doing the kind of stair stepping. Let's just keep doing that. And I think that's healthy. I think when you have any kind of a chart that just shoots up too fast and doesn't pause and consolidate along the way, right? You go straight down rather than hitting support on the way down and pausing and giving yourself a better chance to continue. So it's healthy. What it's doing is it's healthy. It's boring, which is unfortunate. I put out a tweet. Oh no, I put out a Z or an X or whatever they call it.
Yeah, I'm calling them skeets.
Skeet?
I mean, I know that's not what, but I just want to skeet.
I think that's
on the
something else.
platform.
Isn't skate?
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, but I put out.
Zeet. I would pronounce it Zeet if I was looking at it. To be honest, like
you
know,
name your next kid Zeet. I think you got to name your next kid Scott.
Zeet. Well, there will be no next kid, but my theoretical next child, Zeet.
You got two beautiful kids, but I put out two. It's like I wish Bitcoin would do something worth zeeting about or worth tweeting about, and it's boring. It's really doing much, and
it's tapping that 50 MA right there.
Yeah, okay. There's that touch. But
it's the first touch in a month.
That's true. So what does that mean, though? To me, it doesn't mean it's a buy spot. It means it's a representation of the weakening bull trend, the weakening move here, right? We had the first 34 tag, now the 50 tag. Probably get a 200 tag. It probably does need to come back to the demand zone. It probably needs to drop back a little bit to support, in my opinion. I don't think the 50 is like, I'm going to go ahead and buy at the 50. There's not a ton of history there.
The 200 weekly is at 27.1 also, by the way.
The 200 weekly.
The 200 weekly. Yeah, the 200 weekly.
You think we get all the way down there?
No, I'm not. I don't know. I'm looking at 28.6 still, but who isn't?
Yeah, zone in that zone for sure. It would make sense and it would be healthy. I think a lot of people would be buying there. But it's a question of, as always, as you know, you're very strong technically. It's not necessarily the price; it's how we get there. And if we're going to do a throwback to that 28.5 level, ideally would be a sharp, quick drop, right? We don't want to slow bleed into this level, right? Because what does that mean? We're probably going to just drift and break through it, right? So it's not just, it's not an important point. Is it's not always the price. It's how it gets there.
That's true. So listen, having looked at Bitcoin here, you said that, so this, I guess this was kind of the range I was talking about just for reference, right? You had you had building bearish divergence areas at the high. I think RSI still gets to oversold here. Yeah. Because why not? But that could be at 28.6. I mean, that could just come or 28.5 right down to here. I mean, price only it topped at 31, right? And I mean, only a $2,000 drop has dropped RSI from 75 to 40. So, I mean, to go another 10, it could be a $500 move, depending on how it gets there, right? But this doesn't, like, you're not, I hear a lot of people, the more bearish people would be looking for this move, right? To short the low range lows.
Very reasonable. I think that's a good way to do it. I think there's a million different methods, and one of the more simple ones, which is a way to cleanly.
But I'm not looking for shorts, so that's I'm just asking if you're looking.
Well, it's still pretty warm outside, but no. Look, the point I want to make is that if you were, and I'm just kind of defending that thesis, if you're gonna like a method of just simple horizontal strategy makes sense, because if you have a breakdown and you get a bounce, that's reasonable. And the reason why is you're wrong if the price gets back up above whatever, like 29.7 or even 30K. So you want to short there, that's fine. For me, though, and I try to orient with the trend, right? Trend following trade strategy. I'm looking to buy dips. It's in an uptrend. It's a buy the dip mode. If I flip it, any kind of a downtrend that bounces, that's where I'm looking to short. I'm not necessarily looking to get too cute, too fancy. And short necessarily Bitcoin here. I'd be shorting up here on the up thrust. I want to short more strength given the overall trend. I think this is maybe not the best trade orientation, but I can at least defend it in terms of trade technique.
So you, like me, are just kind of sitting with theoretical bids lower.
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching right around 28K. I mean, I've still got I've got from 18K. I grabbed some here in that hammer below the MA21. I haven't really added here in between, but I've just had, because I've had a nice long position, and I've been been in and out, dipping and dabbing and trading and doing all that. But what
would get you out of that? What would get you out of that? There's the better question. For me, it'd be below that those 25-ish, 24.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I'm gonna go uber mega giga short below 25K. I mean, that would be a big bad sign for the trend, especially given that we did hold here on the initial throwback. So that would get me out of it. And I don't know that I am free riding. I'm free riding some position core. So I don't know that I would like preemptively sell it, but I would open up another position. I would be going strongly short below 25K. I know some people, I see all these targets and I want to buy a 23 or 24. That's weird to me, because if it gets down there now,
and you should be really bearish.
You should. Yeah, you should.
And you might as well just set them at the 17 and 16.
and just see what happens. So yeah, you know, we got to be patient. We got to be patient. We got to be patient. Let's just kind of zoom out a little bit. It's a beautiful weekly chart. We have the massive blow off. Call it blow off or not. We set our low. Maybe we set a lower high here somewhere at some point. Maybe it takes us a while to get up there. But at some point, we're going to do that. And we're just going to sideways turn for a couple of years. And you and I are going to keep getting gray hair while that happens. And then eventually, you know, we'll continue with the trend, which is up. But you have to manage your risk in the meantime.
He said years. He said years. I'm out. So
yeah, I know, right?
Not here. I'm gone.
Well, we have the patience.
Go trade pink sheets.
Go trade pink sheets. There's no volume. I used to trade pink sheets back in the day, and there's just no liquidity there. I mean, you got to go where the liquidity is.
The slippage is bananas. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's absolutely nuts. So.
But let's talk about alts, right? You want to talk about alts?
Yeah. I want to see what you got to think. I mean, there's none that I'm like super specifically looking at right now.
Let me just drift through my list and see if anything kind of jumumps out. So we're watching Ethereum, Bitcoin, of course. We want to see,
which continues to look not terrible on this drop, which is a bit surprising.
You know, if we break up above this level here, I'm going to get a little bit more cautious in Bitcoin, right? So we'll kind of keep an eye on that 0.64, 0.65 level. And this general proxy for altcoins is Ethereum versus Bitcoin. It's a little bit messy. We'll clean that up. Ethereum itself is still an uptrend. I'm still waiting to buy on the daily MA200 kind of range peak 2050. Nothing's really changed. INJ I do like. It's probably one of the better charts, and it's actually at an area of interest for me. A nice, clean, beautiful throwback.
Me too. I like that. Although I liked it higher. I liked it $1 higher too, and it was sort of breaking towards the highs. But yeah.
Well, for me, when it came up here, I'm thinking we're going to do some type of an ascending triangle. Even though it was really bullish, I expected a rejection, and I said I'm going to look to buy a dip and a lower high, maybe here, somewhere with the rising demand trend, maybe on the 200. But it's just like Bitcoin. It's in buy the dip mode. And now we're at a spot, an area of interest. What do you do at an area of interest? You drop to a lower time frame, look for some type of a price structure in order to formulate a trade idea. So I like INJ. Litecoin's just kind of chilling, not really much going on, holding the 200 lower Bollinger. Generally, I give a slight edge to bulls. What do you think about Litecoin?
Yeah, I think slight edge to bulls too. Exactly. Would take it exactly as you are, looking at sitting right there on support.
BCH is still bullish, is doing kind of a corrective channel. I can't either, but I've traded a lot of, I've held my nose in a lot of stuff, and it's worked out well for me.
I just believe that the karma of it's so bad that I'm going to get it wrong.
And I can respect that, because you might even, if you may trade poorly if you have a bad vibe about something. So I think that's part of mindfulness and emotional management, with trading. So I think that's reasonable. I think if you're long, below 225, you start to get cautious, but I think this is a reasonable spot potentially on BCH. I do like Render as well. And the reason I like Render,
all look like they're at support right now. Everything looks like it's at support on this little down move from Bitcoin, and they're not suffering badly. I mean, they're only proportional. Yeah.
Support and uptrends or support and downtrends. Render is an uptrend, tagging the daily MA200. And I like the fact that people will see this and say head and shoulders, not understanding most head and shoulders fail, most reversal patterns fail. You want to actually buy here at the neck baseline, because very easily defined risk. You know when you're wrong, or you wait for the right shoulder to invalidate. But either way, it's a consolidating uptrend back to supply zone. I like it. I like it here. That's interesting. Beyond that, there's not too many. We should talk about, like, the rest of these are kind of okay.
I mean, XRP and Doge, can you look at those just because they're the talk of the town?
I want to see your opinion. The toast of the town. Yeah, kind of waiting for above 8 cents on Doge. It's kind of always been a pivot for me. You've got a kind of descending, people call it a trend line. I don't even call it a trend line. I call it a descending supply trend. It's a trend of descending supply or falling resistance. Falling resistance, right? You have a general trend of falling resistance. Let's clean it up though. General trend of falling resistance, and you have price in essentially a trendless environment here in the daily chart over a year time frame. You have to, in a choppy kind of chart like this, you have to draw some line in the sand. For me, it's going to be again right around 8 cents. So I'm really kind of below 8 cents, not touching it. Above 8 cents, I might go for it. But you got to be careful with Doge. Is it going to be the new XEAT payment system? Is it going to be the whatever? Who cares? Chart is not great. Better charts to play, but above 8 cents, I give it a little mojo. What do you think?
If you pronounce it in Chinese, it's sheet. Right? I mean,
Did
she isn't
you
isn't
prepare that one?
she XI is she? No, I just realized you were
That's on the
saying
fly. That's not bad.
sheet. I mean,
That's not
I saw
bad.
it already going around, but it
Do
feels
you
like
know
Chinese pronunciation of sheet.
there's like a gas station chain in Pennsylvania called Sheets,
Sheets. Yeah.
and maybe
Yeah.
out
I
in
lived
like
in.
that area.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
don't give a I don't give a
I
shit how
don't
we
give no
pronounce it.
sheets.
By the
Yeah,
way,
in
if you
between
draw
the
the Doge
sheets.
descending line like that from those
Yes.
15-cent highs, I mean, you're there.
Yeah. But is it a line or is it a trend? Right?
Trend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Well, if you
know,
buy the breakout of that line, you'll just get,
you'll be in the
we
sheets.
always fake out on the descending. You'll sheet the
Yes.
bed.
You'll shoot the bed. XRP hashtag the standard. I always say it that way. You got to give respect. Like, what are we doing? I don't know. I mean, you've got kind of a local support zone. You can kind of identify that. You have price above most of the moving averages. That's bullish. There's a lot of air though down to this bottom zone, right? You see how it moved up so quickly. So it's kind of a precarious type of environment. I think you have to kind of look at it as zone 1 and zone 2, and you kind of not trade in between. But in the meantime, this might need more time to cook. It's in the oven, it's still baking type of thing. What do you think about that?
Yeah, dude, I don't know, man. I think
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I agree.
We'll zoom out.
The bulls were literally, people were like, it's going straight to $5.
Yes. Well, let's zoom out. We can
That
zoom out.
That I don't get. But yeah, I look at that chart. I mean, it's just got that massive move. But those wicks, man.
Well, it's red light. It's red light. It's the red light turned orange, maybe turning green because you get the lower high break. You've got to kind of stair step. Now you have a throwback.
Yeah, I think if it goes back to 58 cents, I would buy this. Between 54 and 58.
Yeah. And so now it's a question of examining the structure of the consolidation. Yeah, the upper wicks, but are we just going to do a bull flag in the weekly? That's bullish, right? So maybe it does that. Maybe it does some kind of a falling corrective channel back towards supply, and then you would go long. But I don't think you touch it here in between. As with much of trading, it's about most of the time there's nothing to do. And then when the price is at a key level, that's when you strike. So I think that's generally the way to do it. I'll just talk about Link too. A lot of people were super bullish in this. Maybe just the algos on Zed or Twitter. I gotta stop doing that. Keep putting it in front of me, but it's just kind of sheets in between the sheets. It's still a bad chart to me. I know a lot of people love it. Kind of rejected at range highs. You got range lows here. A little deviation back to range peaks. Still needs time to cook, but generally I am bearish on it. I just wanted to say that.
Hey, Cheds,
Yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and say this.
Yeah.
Last time you brought up the word link, like I got annihilated on Twitter. Remember that? And someone made a weird video that I shared with you of like dancing Linky something.
Yes. Yeah.
So I would like to go on record saying I disagree wholeheartedly with anything that Ched says about Link. I'm a huge Link bull. I am a Link Marine, and I think it's the future.
Where did you surf? What regiment? Surf Fallen? What is it?
I was in the 17th platoon of the Link Marines. I was a Ranger. I don't know. Those are Army, I guess. I guess you'd be a Ranger in the XRP Army. But
there you go.
I think Link looks amazing.
Oh, it's love it. It's the
everything about it.
Swift payments or whatever they do. I don't even know.
Dude, he's being sarcastic. I'm very serious here. No,
serious.
Honestly, I will say I do think it looks pretty good back around $7. I had the range kind of this bigger range, but if you do zoom out, I mean this does look like accumulation after all that drop. So like I think that this eventually does break up and head back towards the highs. So I just maybe I don't see like the case after this move from $5 to $8, but like that 50 weekly retest there, like $7, $6.80. That does look kind of sexy to me, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable level. I mean, if it's going to stair step, I mean, you'd want to see it to continue to hold off of like daily MA 200, daily MA 20, middle Bollinger. You have pretty well identified what would be kind of a support resistance flipping level, support turned to resistance broken, kind of throwback. So yeah, that's reasonable. There's a lot of better stuff out there if you're going to the chart alone, but disagreement is what makes a market. We tend to get upset.
I do think it looks like if you're going to buy something, obviously we kind of talked about older. Like I think that in the next bull market, that looks like a major accumulation phase to me. So I do think that, as we've talked about, there'll be some new shiny things that everybody will be trading by then.
There will be something we've never heard of, but I don't know. ING, it's got that feel. It's just got the chart. It's got the look where it's kind of new enough. And, you know, are we going to, you know, we're going to be at like 18, 20, $50 one day. I mean, I'm not saying it, you know, but like it's got above all the ones that could be a new one that's got that beautiful accelerating chart.
It always, you know, there's always, listen, there's a lot of bag holders on any coin, non-specific to Link from previous cycles. There just are. And that should, and that's why even when you get that massive move on XRP, there's a lot of people who are like, oh shit, I can finally get out of some of my XRP. Right? They saw that 93 cents and they're, oh, I'm out.
That feeling of bouncing back to break even when you've been like losing sleep over a trade. Ooh, it's break even, I'm out. You know, that sometimes that feels like a huge victory.
It does when you've been underwater for so long. So not
I've learned how to breathe long. I've learned how to breathe so well from being underwater so much, you know. I can hold my breath now for several minutes.
All right, man. Any final thoughts before I let you go and move on to Twitter Spaces, talk about Worldcoin again?
Quick plug.
Please, no books.
No, if you're into video games, I'm streaming on Twitch, _Cheds. I'm just having fun with life. If you're into video games, I'm streaming on Twitch.
What are you playing?
Age of Empires 4. It is a brilliant strategy game. I'm kind of okay at it, but I love it. It's like chess. It's like everything. It's a real-time strategy game. It is amazing. So check me out on Twitch. Watch me play video games poorly. You'll enjoy it. And that's my plug.
I would do that. Awesome, man.
All right, brother. I appreciate it. Good looking.
Appreciate you.
All right,
thank you very much.
Peace out.
Peace. All right, guys. That's it. Robert F. Kennedy tomorrow in the afternoon. I'll be back here again tomorrow, obviously, at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, talking about all these same things. So join me and check out MELD while you're at it. MELD's in the description. Check them out. Guys, that's all I got for you today. I got to run. Talk to you soon. Peace.
That's dope.